Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and just looking at it. I'm Dan, and I have a question. You guys are probably familiar with the concept of separation of church and state. It's been the founding principle for American democracy, or I guess you call it Republican democracy. That's what it really is. Since the beginning, and it was back in like the '60s and all that stuff when there was the movement to get, say, mandatory prayer in school. So the concept of not enforcing a religion onto the public who may or may not want it, which is quite good because I believe that we all need to be, think. Um, but what I've been thinking is that maybe we need to go a little further. Maybe, you know, religion, while religion can be taught about school, and kids are allowed to pray on their own. This is not an atheist video. This is actually something else. I'm proposing a separation of ideology and education. Now, we're all familiar with the rantings and ravings of many high school and college student. And we see this videos from Yale to Berkeley. My thoughts are that one of the big problems of this stems from professors kind of injecting their ideology and in many ways punishing those who don't respect that ideology, because the problem with that is when you have a skeptic in the class, and they may or may not be doing this intentionally, but when they start kind of talking about their beliefs, even in let's say college students, while we think of let's protect the children, especially like when it came to things like religion, because you don't want to force all kids to be this way. You often forget that college students, especially starting from about 18 to 22, are still not fully developmentally there. They're still, they're in the finalizing stages of what will become their adult brain, but it means they're still very malleable to indoctrination. Not as much as a young child, but still able to be influenced, especially if it's a very strong emotional one. You see, when you're a kid, you're going to be told, Mommy says this, and that's what it is. When you get older, it's more of it has to be persuasion through emotion. Hence why, these very hardcore people on the far left, like, believe it with their heart and soul, and almost like a religious fervor. Now, the reason addition to this, because I do feel that colleges, universities, whatever you want to call them, should be there for informing. These are the facts. No, we're not going to talk. Yes, we may talk about the emotions about people who are, but it's facts over feels. Another problem I have personally with ideology infecting, academia particularly, is its possible negative repercussion on people who don't subscribe to the ideology. Been personally, I cannot prove it. I'm fairly certain I was a victim of discrimination based on my political beliefs. Now, why I am technically registered as Democrat, though I don't agree with the current leanings of the Democratic Party, I've considered myself center or left of center, fairly, rational. Although those are not mutually inclusive. I'm just saying that I consider myself fairly, liberal, but with more standard leanings. I had an English professor. This is a required course for me to get my associates. And she kind of was very much I use the term hippy dippy, but talked about listening to NPR. She at her times references organic farming and being anti-GMO, And I think that my big problem was and I've heard people, including people like Magaga Morskar, talk about how the temptation to speak up is so great. And I actually, unfortunately, because of I am autistic, I kind of have trouble filtering that stuff out. And I think I suffered from that because it was marked. We had to do an essay, and they were looking at an environmental issue, and I did nuclear energy. Now I decided, though I don't necessarily agree with the use of, at the time I didn't necessarily agree with the use of nuclear energy, but I believe that you should try to argue from the direction I necessarily agree with. Again, I was fairly neutral on it. I think I got a D on that, and to be fair, my parents, both my parents, are journalists, or were. My mom actually was an award-winning journalist for broadcast excellence. I had them look over my paper, look over the writing to make sure everything flowed, to make sure it looked good. And because of my, heretical beliefs, I got, a lower grade. To be fair, honestly, I think about it, wasn't a probably not a D, so probably a C. Well, I got fails on papers I at least should have gotten a C on. So, in that case, it is hard to separate people from us. We can't all become Vulcans. But I think, like many things, you should be taking your personal investments out of your teaching and policies. Here in California, when it comes to, for instance, things like doing public meetings and doing, things like city councils, there's a thing called the Brown Act, which basically states that you're supposed to excuse yourself if you're voting on something promotes a conflict of interest, whether meaning you owning stock in, say, the thing you're voting in, or so on and so forth. And while I don't think that it really applies to teaching, I do believe that we should have something similar to saying that for a code of conduct for teachers when it comes to things like grading and ethics, saying you cannot lower students' grade for not having the same, political belief. I should have been graded on merit and not the fact that I had wrongthink. I mean, as I said, this lady was very clearly not going to like what I say. I am pro GMOs. I don't like organic farming. Not like backyard organic. That's fine. If you want to grow your own fruits, that's fine. That's your right. Everyone has an herb garden. I got pumpkins growing. But big organic, which I am going to do a video on, I find is one of the biggest propaganda mills ever. I mean, tricking people, and this is against spreading how I don't do spread. You have the teachers who buy in the stuff, telling their kids and convincing them. And I mean, at that age, again, people are very vulnerable to indoctrination, whether it's, health foods. And I know I am no one to talk about health, although I am working on it. And you can kind of see I've lost a little bit of weight. My big problem again is when you're not young, even though you are an adult, you're still I'm still kind of vulnerable, even though I'm 28. Going on 29, so therefore, I still be persuaded by very cleverly posted, marketing or emotional persuasion. So, I'm not saying that once you get past 25, you're suddenly immune, but you've had enough life here and your brain's a little more, to be a little bit more resilient. And I'm just going to close it by saying, if you are in a school and you are dealing with an ideological teacher, I would recommend kind of running on the radar. If it gets bad, you could always try to report them. Say, hey, listen, I feel like I'm being. It's always fun to see what, though it's to see if you're conservative or you're not necessarily agreeing with. You could still get in trouble because, or not be protected at all for essentially ratting on the teacher for being unfair. Some might just say, go fucking take it. But if you are, me just get through this. And hopefully, maybe work on how, if you want to do anything more positive, work on creating maybe like some school thing saying, hey, we want to make sure that teachers are unbiased on their presentation. I've heard some crazy stories. I heard this is a fun one. This guy I know told me this story because he lives on Denver and Boulder. Well, he actually think he went to university in Denver, and he talked about how he had a crazy kind of like I refer like hippie hipsterized teacher who basically claimed that Native Americans never fought until the white man came, and she claimed to be all for nature. She's basically drinking Starbucks and driving a Prius with her head shoved straight up her ass. Anyway, I think that's my kind of closing thoughts. Again, just because your teachers are and professors are there doesn't mean that they know everything. And maybe look into stuff and try and, again, I know authority is attractive because authority is like, yes, they're in charge, they know what they're talking about, but think for yourself. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, please like, because viewer interaction is important. Leave a comment, because maybe you've had an experience like me. Maybe you had a teacher. Maybe you've seen people who were kind of looked down upon because they had different views. Or maybe you were one of those people. And maybe you're like, oh shit, I can see this. This is me. Comment. And of course, as always, subscribe to get more of my content. My name's Dan, and I'll see you later. Peace.